I know it's been a while and the last month has been pretty fucked up for me and life was confusing a bit. I made a community post about that. I hope you understand, but let me talk about Suzume now. Movie काफी अच्छी थी. Suzume for me wasn't just a blend of romance and some eye-pleasing shit, but it was something greater, which comes from a rather goofy past of Makoto Shinkai, the creator of Suzume, who represented death and tragedy as a piece of art and named it Your Name. For example, that beautiful flower-like thing in the sky is an actual meteor about to pancake a village full of people. And the visuals were made to look like the best wallpaper you'll ever have. Hello? Whenever we go and watch a movie, the first thing our mind tries to find is its protagonist. And it's scary how easy it is getting these days to find the protagonist on the screen, even if it's not a human. Just don't. But a typical Makoto Shinkai movie runs on a plan that goes like this. Veere, can you see that girl on the poster? Yeah, that one. That is a dumb bitch. This cat is the real shit. समझ में आया ना? मतलब क्या बोला मैंने? Even his thoughts and sayings are confusing. For example, this is what he said in an interview or something. People have funerals, but land and towns don't. मेरे को सब समझ में आ रहा भाई. But this short statement from Shinkai actually can explain you a lot about why his movies behave the way they behave. Lot more than what I can explain you in a minute. It is a fact that in every single movie of his, we tend to notice disasters, supernatural phenomenons, and sometimes romantic bullshit. Thank God sometimes. But what if in all these movies what Shinkai really wanted to showcase were lands and towns that got affected by these disasters more than the protagonist him or herself. अब तुम ये मत बोलना भाई एस्ट्रॉइड से तो लोग मरे ना भाई, तू क्या कह रहा है? चूतिए, unfortunate events destroy memories, not people. People fuck and reform. It's the land that holds that scar. That one cheerful town or a village gets ravaged in matter of seconds by a splitting star. The star goes like, oopsie, your name. But still, in the end, we never really gave a fuck about the town, but we only cared about the main characters uniting. We really missed the part when an old lady in a restaurant immediately recognized the town that Taki was searching for to find Mitsuha in. We didn't even think for a second, man, how the fuck does this old lady remember this town so vividly? Years have passed, but it's still there. Why do you think Shinkai always shows the characteristics of a place or town just like the main character of his story? As for him, in his movies, that place holds equal significance as the main character's story. Although Suzume is a story of a girl who needs to close these gates in order to prevent the disaster that will destroy Earth if these gates are not sealed, but there is another twist in the story. These gates are only found in ruins, the places that are abandoned. Some mishappening might have happened to them in the past. And here is the proof of the statement that I said about the place's significance similar to the character's significance. In order to close these gates, it's necessary for Suzume to first visualize how alive these places were once, how happy the people were in these places, and then only the keyhole to seal the door appears. The beauty and the state of that town or park was held at such high priority that it was part of the main ritual. Simply बोलूं तो every single spot जहां पे gate appear हुआ had a backstory attached to it that was similar to the protagonist's backstory. And now to sum up everything and why I named Suzume a disaster movie, it puts a reference to real world calamity that occurred on March 2011. The unfortunate events that occurred in Japan in 2011 were put in this movie in a very subtle way. And that is what puts soul to this movie. It's actually enough to make a grown man cry if you are paying a little bit of attention to what was happening in little Suzume's life and how she lost her mother. The opening sequence of small Suzume crying and finding her mother after the earthquake of March 11, and the last sequence of Suzume finding her diary and seeing the pages of the diary blacked out after March 11 calamity. As she was turning the diary pages, you could actually hear the people crying for help and the tsunami alarm going off that day. I'm assuming that the noises that I heard in that scene were taken from the real world news sources, which is actually horrifying but takes the storytelling to just another level. But you can't also deny the fact that all the romantic stories that are presented in Makoto Shinkai's movies end up at a good note. No matter how big of a shit went down in that town, this aspect remains intact. And also some stupid shit that people that were not paying attention claimed that the movie wasn't emotional enough, These people were invited to an early premiere, by the way. Shinkai in one of his interviews said that although the March 11 marks the worst day of Japan, but the aftermath of it also marks the best cherry blossom view he ever experienced. And that also gives us the answer to why the aftermath of every deadly situation in his movies ends up at the best fucking frame of that movie. For example, in John Wick 4, the end marks the wide shot of John Wick lying on church stairs with a sunset in background. It's so beautiful that you couldn't even imagine that this man lying on the stairs killed an entire army of assassins in the night. Whether it's the meteor in Your Name or the rain in Weathering With You or the worms in Suzume, every movie of Shinkai actually depicts how these were the actual points of salvation. So yeah, Suzume is a disaster movie brought forth by Shinkai so that the events of March 11 never actually fade away like text in some old history books. And the people that knew what this movie was about will remember it in the name of art that it represented. And don't you dare fucking tell me that it was a clickbait by me. Bye.